Welcome to day 17 of my road trip across America, driving my vintage self-converted electric camper van from LA to New York. Today, sadly, could be the end of the trip. We're less than 400 miles away, but last night, I think the batteries fully got toasted in the cold weather. Broke down on the side of the road. There was no warning. They just died. And it makes me think something's gone horribly wrong. So I'm parked up. I've slept for a few hours in this mechanic's workshop, but it's bitterly cold outside. Thankfully, it's warmer in here, but if the batteries are toasted, then sadly, this could be the end. So close, but so far. So I'm gonna spend the next few hours problem solving, trying to figure something out, but it could be that I need to rent a car and drive to New York to make it in time. I don't know what I do with the van. I might have to ask this guy if I could leave it here for a while until I figure something out. This has been the most hopeless I've felt in the whole trip, and honestly, I feel pretty devastated. It would take a miracle right now to turn this around. Realistically, I think we're done. I tend to get very tunnel visioned into fixing things and forget to eat and sleep and just like really obsessed. So before that begins, I need to refuel my body. Oh, I'm sorry, Callie. I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't found you. Oh. So snowy. Thankful I'm not stuck in this on the side of the road still. Freezing. I'm gonna connect my computer again and see if it's still giving me a bad readout. This is the problem I found last night. This should be displaying 42 cells, and it's actually only displaying 12. This is a screenshot from when I looked at it earlier in the trip. There's look, 13, 24, 25 to 36. 37 to 42, so these are all there, but they're not there. One possibility could be that this salt off the road, the salt could have got inside some of the contacts for the BMS, which would mean they're not displaying. So I'm gonna check all the contacts that I can access and hope that that's one of the issues. I'm also gonna try and reconnect the charger and see if miraculously it works, but I'm not holding out much hope. I've just messaged Jehu. Jehu doesn't respond or isn't around. I'm gonna call Brett from Solar Roller, who's also done these fan conversions.
Hi, this is Brett.
Hey Brett, it's Louis here.
Hey, Louis.
Hey. Have you got a moment? I just wanted to pick your brain about a problem I've run into. Last night it was snowing and it got down to like 27 degrees or something. I was running low, but I still had charge in the batteries, and then suddenly it all just cut off and my display started like going crazy, like, you know, numbers were just flying all over the place. I managed to get rescued to a workshop, which I'm sitting in now. Anyway, I've let it thaw out. It's definitely back to room temperature now, and the charger isn't charging the batteries, it just keeps cutting off. And when I hook into my BMS, most of my cells aren't displaying. It's only reading something like 41 volts and it should be 170 volts. The problem with the BMS, we didn't actually set it up with all of the relays, so it was just giving me a readout. It doesn't actually intervene.
Show space TH.
TH. It doesn't show anything.
So you're not showing any thermistors?
No, it just says T1 to 5 and then there's just blank.
Okay.
But that definitely used to work. What would have gone wrong with the wiring? Do you think it could have been affected with the amount of moisture and salt and stuff kicking up from underneath? I mean, I can't see why because it was all weather sealed, but...
It's possible, but yeah, like you're saying, if something just rattled loose, you know, and...
Jehu said it sounds like a pair of modules are open circuit. What does that mean?
Well, that they're not... the BMS should still read them, though. What's weird is your display is reading an overall voltage, so the modules should all be connected. You can't charge, right?
I can't, no, but what's weird is, so I've got these Elcon chargers, they turn on, then they flash an error saying no battery connected. It's like a red and green light, and then they turn off again, which again, that's not a good sign. I've never had that before. There's a huge fuse which might have blown, so I'm gonna check that. That could be the culprit. 123 volts. I'm gonna check that all of these connections and the BMSs aren't like screwed up. I managed to check with my multimeter the 2 terminals in my kind of control box from the main batteries, and it says that they're at 123 volts.
That sounds accurate.
Yeah, that sounds like, obviously it's bad that they're that low, but it seems about right for a dead battery pack. But if half of the battery pack's fried, that wouldn't read that, would it? Because if I connect the BMS, it's saying it's 40 volts.
Dude, your battery pack's fine. Don't jump to conclusions. I understand where you're at. You're under a lot of stress and pressure and trauma and whatever else from your experience, but don't jump to that conclusion. It's fine. Obviously, something is disconnected. And if you look at the more information that you can find out, like the more components that you could look at, that would paint us a picture of what's going on.
Oh, okay.
We just need clues.
Yeah, why don't I go through all of the different things I know and almost kind of, to help paint that picture. I'll put the puzzle pieces together.
It's there. It's right in front of you.
Okay.
It's right in front of you.
It's funny, I haven't even thought about changing the tyre yet because
that's mine.
It's the last thing we need to worry about.
That's the last piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. I've been fiddling around for like 3 hours. I individually tested each battery cell, and there's one dodgy reading, but the rest of them look okay. So I'm pretty sure I haven't destroyed the batteries. What I have noticed is we were trying to charge up the 12 volt battery, which I put back in, and it's a completely dud battery. It's not charging at all. And I wonder whether the cold condition completely killed the already weak 12 volt battery, and maybe that screwed the whole system. I'm gonna take out that, put in the new one we bought, and see if it works. So this is a dud. No, didn't work. It's been another few hours just scratching our heads. I'm chatting to Jehu and Brett from Solar Roller. Good news is it's looking like at least most of the main batteries are fine. There might be a little problem because I'm getting one weird readout on the 3rd and 4th modules. So that could be the problem. I only slept like 3 hours this morning. I'm really tired. And all I've eaten is some cereal and peanut butter sandwiches.
So basically, you've got a ground connection which spans that fuse. And so that's why you're getting a funny reading, and that's why they read fine after that, because they have a ground. But the first cell pack in cell pack 4 doesn't have a ground. That's why you get a funny reading, because you've got a discontinuity there. And that's why your chargers are freaking out. Otherwise, if it was just minus 4 volts, your chargers would charge fine.
The connection between modules 3 and 4, I made up some bar connectors myself to connect them. So if one of those... If those...
Yeah, if one of those lifted. It's whatever is going between 3 and 4. So that's where your problem is, because that's where the BMS is saying, hey, I don't know how to read this. So that something loosened up there.
It's just kind of crazy to me that it happened to happen in really, really icy conditions. This could have happened at any point.
No, that's good that you're looking at it that way, because there's very, very likely a connection there. So what would that cause? That would cause something to contract, right? Something gets cold, it contracts. So maybe if there is a loose connection, it getting cold and shrinking and stuff might exacerbate the issue. Is there a way you can get into where
so I need
connections are? That's dropping the whole pack.
I need to open that box. I need to look at that connection. It's a bit of a mission because it's a sealed box because it's all underneath the bus, and I'd need to probably get it lifted, but I also need to get back to New York for Christmas in the next couple of days. So one option is I could open up that box, see if it's an obvious thing. If not, my backup plan at the moment is to leave my van here in Pennsylvania, wherever I am, and rent a car to New York and then come back and rescue it next year, which isn't ideal.
Yeah, too bad you didn't break down closer. You could have just put it in the shop here and I could take care of it for you.
I'm so tired. I'm trying to problem solve. What I'm thinking is first thing in the morning, before I decide whether or not to call it a day on this particular mission, I'm going to see if the guy here will let me lift the van, get underneath it, take the lid off the battery box and see if it's an obvious fix. If it isn't, I'll just reseal, close the battery box, and then we'll go and get a rental car. One other thing that we need to do, regardless of whether we're going to rescue this van or take it to somewhere to be stored, is inflating this tyre. think I'm going to switch this over for the front one. I feel like I'm running on like 50% mental capacity, maybe less. I can barely string sentences together. I am so exhausted. So the plan is, Tyler, who rescued me, let me stay in his workshop all day and has kindly offered me to stay here tonight. Not that I have really any other option. He has said in the morning we can lift the van. I'm gonna unscrew the top of the battery box, check if the connector between the third and fourth module is lifted or warped. If it isn't and that connection's fine, then unfortunately, I think I do need to replace 2 battery modules, which sucks. They're like $1,000 each. It's not the end of the world, but I won't be able to do that this trip. But if the connector is lifted and disconnected somehow, which my theory is the cold weather warped it, then I can fix it in the morning and maybe still make it to New York. Right now, I'm giving that a 10% chance likelihood. The 90% chance is that we don't fix it tomorrow, and then unfortunately, I will postpone the final stage of this trip, and I'll get a rental car and get back to Raya for Christmas in a rental car. I'm so close, it's so annoying. I'm also incredibly hungry, so I'm gonna try and make some pasta on my induction stove if I can stay awake long enough. After food, I'm definitely going to clear up the van. A big part of that is because I need to find a tiny little SIM card that I lost. Again, very unlikely, but I'm gonna try. I think today and after the rescue last night, I've just felt completely defeated. Okay, I've made my pasta, threw in my tomato sauce. I'm just gonna chill now and recuperate. So I feel a little bit more energized since eating dinner. I've just been tidying up for the last couple of hours. Still looking messy, but it's at least organized mess now. And the best thing of it all is I found my flipping SIM card. This is my UK SIM card that I need for next year. So I just found this on the floor after 2 hours of looking. It was literally just down here. Miracle. I fought the exhaustion long enough. I'm gonna go to bed. Plan is, by tomorrow lunchtime, we would have made a verdict of whether the van is savable or whether I need to come back for it for part 2 of the adventure. Peace. It's day 18 of driving my self-converted electric vintage van across the US. We're still in this mechanic workshop, and there's one last thing we're going to try this morning, and unfortunately, if that doesn't work, we're going to have to postpone the last few days of the trip and come and rescue the van another time, and I'm going to rent a car today. It's a sad sight to see the van up on the back of the tow truck. These things happen, you know. Also, I've only been outside a couple of minutes and I am freezing. It is, I can't even describe how cold it is. We're gonna have it up on there. It's funny because that's where I spent 3 months of my 2020 was underneath one of those racks under the van, like bolting on battery boxes. So this is Tyler, he's been my saviour the last couple of days, and we're doing one last attempt.
To try to get the Volkswagen going down.
Yeah. Bro, thanks for all the help, it's been amazing. This box I need to open up, and then there's a connector right here.
Okay, we don't have to worry about getting electrocuted taking that panel off.
No, the pan, I might put on some gloves just in case. I might need a screwdriver to prise this open.
Kind of like a nightmare to me.
Wow, this sealant is really...
Need a hammer? What's this wire here? I'll tell you what, we're gonna look, and if we don't see an obvious problem, we're gonna get it get it out of here, okay?
Yeah,
Because I'm not comfortable.
Honestly, at this point, I'm almost like, this could take a while.
Yeah, and we're not touching it. I think it's just gonna be best. I hate to say this, but to get it out of here.
Yeah, it was worth having a quick look, but I think...
a quick look underneath. I'm not seeing any obvious things, and I don't want us touching it.
Unfortunately, after a quick look underneath and all of us realizing it's going to be a few hours even just to like prise off the box lid and have a proper look at underneath, and then realistically it could be a multitude of problems, so we've made the decision unfortunately to pause the trip, to postpone the last leg. I might need to get it towed somewhere else to work on it, fix it, and we can continue the rest of this video just getting to New York and celebrating with Raya and our families. I don't want to see this as a failure, more of a, just a postponing of the final chapter. Well, after running around for a few hours and calling different people, I found us a ride to New York. This is our ride. How do you feel about that, Kelly? She's not sure. Yep, this is us, Kelly. This is our new car. I'm sorry. We're back. We need to load up from the van. Pretty sad, but also it just leaves room for chapter 2 of the trip, which I'm still dedicated to making this work. Farewell, my sweet princess. I hope she's going to be okay. My current plan is to see if I could tow it to my friend a few states away, and then we could work on it to repair it in his workshop. It's time to roll. Okay, we're finally off on our way to Hudson, New York, to reunite with Raya and see the family. We've got like a 6-hour drive ahead of us, but if all goes to plan, we should be arriving early evening. Kelly, how are you feeling? You doing okay? I know it's a bit of a bummer that I had to leave the van, but on the plus side, it is toasty and warm in here, and I am deeply grateful to have the modern luxuries of heating in the car. Callie's happy, curled up in a little ball next to me. I'm just happy to have got 90% of the way. I'm just exhausted and ready to have a little break, to be honest. I've just stopped to refuel. I've probably covered 250 miles today, and I've just refueled in like 2 minutes, got a coffee, and now if I wanted to, I could drive like another 350 miles on this tank. It's just reminded me we've still got a way to go to compete with fossil fuel driven vehicles before electric vehicles are gonna A, give us long distance, like good range, and B, refuel or top up at a faster rate. I do know kind of the superchargers are getting there. I think that's the next step for my electric van, is to try and somehow install some kind of faster charging. I cannot wait to get to Hudson to see Raya. Oh, I'm feeling very, very excited. Also, these mountains have just been getting more and more insane. I think it would have reduced my range with the cold and the mountains, maybe even down to like 80 miles a day, or 80 miles a charge at least. So I probably wouldn't have been able to push much more than 160 a day with 2 charges. I think this whole thing's a really good test though for the next kind of adventure I do in the van. And if I ever do manage to figure out the solar powered situation, I've got a lot of experience under my belt now doing a proper EV road trip. Kelly, I think I'm going to give you a shower tonight because you're a little bit smelly. We're only 35 minutes away from Hudson and finishing this pretty intense adventure for the moment. I'll update you at the end of this video, but I just heard some exciting potential news about the van and the next phase of its life and getting it repaired, and hopefully also starting to figure out this bigger vision of traveling fully solar powered, which definitely wouldn't have worked this trip because of the lack of daylight, the lack of good sunshine, but in good weather, longer days like in the summer, I think it could be more freeing than traveling, having to go to specific charger locations or RV parks. I think if there's enough sunlight, you could park anywhere, less likely to run out of charge because you don't have to be getting to a certain spot to find the chargers. I'm excited. I think that's the next step. 6 minutes away. 6 minutes away. It's been a tough 3 weeks. I just cannot wait to run and hug Raya. This is going to be your hometown for the next 10 days. Are you excited to go for a little walk? Let's just park up here. Oh, I made it.
Oh, you made it.
I made it.
Oh my gosh. Come in the warm.
Okay, come on, Kelly. Oh my goodness. I'm here. I need a shower. Kelly needs a shower.
You need food.
I need to wash my clothes.
You need a real meal.
I need food.
You
I
made
freaking
it.
drove across the country.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, you've done so well, my
I'm
love.
so proud of you.
You've done so well. You can relax now. No more driving around.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Raya and I got to spend the most wonderful Christmas exploring beautiful upstate New York with our families. And it was a much needed break after a challenging few weeks. The good news is my van has been rescued and towed to my friend Brett's workshop. The bad news, it's a third of the way back across the country, and it will be months before I can continue my journey. But here's the exciting part. Brett and his wife Kira are going to help me turn my van into a fully solar-powered vehicle. This was my original plan for the trip, but I'm glad I didn't attempt it during the winter with all the cloudy days and limited sunlight. With their company Solar Roller, they've already built several fully solar-powered camper vans and RVs, so I couldn't be in better hands. And I am truly excited for the next chapter of the Volkswagen. And while I wait for the solar upgrade project to start, I'm already planning another electric conversion project, a vintage VW Beetle back in the UK. So if you've enjoyed this series and are excited for what's to come on my channel, please hit the subscribe button. I know half of you watching aren't subscribed yet, so your support would mean the world to me. I hope you've all had a great start to the year, and I'll see you in the next video.